I'm excited for the summer. I think I'll have a lot of inspiration to create, and I think I want to expand on my mediums a little bit and test out some things as far as using texture. So please be tuned to the things that come. I think they'll be exciting.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Psosi Studio. I'm your host, Psosi, and today we have an awesome guest with us. He is a former D1 football player who played at Harvard, and while he was there, he was a two-time All-Ivy cornerback, and he also played a grad year at Boston College. And now he currently works in finance and is also a very talented artist. So with all that being said, let's welcome the one and only AWash, Alex Washington, to Psosi Studio.
I appreciate you, man. Happy to be here.
No, for sure. And first just want to, check in, see how you living, bro, like how things been.
Things are good, bro. Things are busy, but
Mm-hmm.
busy is blessings. So no complaints.
No, naturally. And to kind of start things off, I thought it would be cool to kind of explain how we even connected with each other. So back when I was a senior at Boston University, I interned at Harvard football, where Alex was, at the time, the only relationship or connection I had to him was athlete to photographer. I used to go to the home games and take photos. So I think now it's been kind of cool to see you off the field now as a creative, and even having the opportunity to photograph your first solo exhibition, which we will get into later. But I guess my first question that I wanted to ask is, like, where did your kind of interest in creativity or like the arts start?
Similar to other people that create, I feel like I didn't pick it if it chose me. My parents are both kind of creatives. My mom's an interior designer, my dad's an architect, so they grew up kind of with the gene, and I grew up seeing their paintings on the wall, and it was nothing for me to have like a crayon in my hand or a marker in my hand. And I actually started off on my desk. So I had like a white desk in my room. I was probably like in elementary school, and I used to like write on the desk. I started getting in trouble, get my ass beat. So
Yeah, you one of
I
those kids that was
transitioned.
still drawing on the desk.
Yeah, I transitioned into taking art class in school, and then from there, I kind of just noticed I had a proclivity to it, and I just never stopped.
Okay. No, that's what's up. It's cool definitely to have that influence from the household with both your parents being in creative fields. And then I guess, would you say that like your school kind of also cultivated like a sort of creative, I guess, like mindset in you as well, or?
The best they could, yeah, the best they could. Public school in Alabama is different for a lot of
Mhm.
reasons,
Yeah.
but they do give you the opportunity to paint. They have a mandatory art class that you have to take. So yeah, I would say so.
All right. That's what's up. And then I want to ask about your artist name. So you go by Ames, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you come up with that name?
You know, it's not too in depth.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted something that can be extrapolated outside of just painting. And I feel like my name, Alex Washington, is already tied to the sports identity that I have in
Yeah.
Harvard and Morgan Stanley. So I wanted something separate from that, but still felt identifiable for me. And a lot of people call me AWash. I go by AWash to,
Yeah.
for my friends and stuff, and it feels cool. It's more like a nickname. Ames feels something new, and it feels like something that can stick in as a brand, either that's clothes, if that's digital art,
Yeah.
graffiti, whatever it may be. I feel like Ames is like the product of that.
Okay, no, that's cool. I like also how you're kind of talking about the differentiation of your identity and the different parts of yourself. And then when did you get into painting, like, I guess, like, more seriously?
I took AP art in high school. I liked it. I enjoyed it. My teacher, um, she was really on me to submit a portfolio. And at the time, I just thought that was extra work because then I had to put everything together. I have to take these pictures of the art in very high quality. I have to upload them. I have to write these descriptions. So in high school, I just wanted to play basketball. Like I was really kind of just like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to go
School
to the league. Like
dreams.
I don't,
Yeah.
you know, um, but she was really on me. Miss Davis, shout out Miss Davis, love Miss Davis. And I started taking it a little bit more seriously, trying to put thought into it. Before it was just aesthetics. Before it was like, I like cars, I like portraits, I like J. Cole, let me do this stuff. But then I
Hmm.
started kind of putting a narrative to it, and that was fun. Won a couple awards in high school, state level. That was cool,
Yeah.
where I got to go to the Capitol and they, introduced me along with other artists. And then that was through that, like I got exposure to kind of the gallery scene, like Birmingham Museum of Art, showed there in a group setting. And I liked it, but I still didn't know what I was doing really. It wasn't until COVID where I had time to really think and step back from everything especially the identity of school, being estranged from Harvard, not even being allowed on campus, to where I was like, okay, let me see if I can monetize this. Let me see if I can actually create something that people will want to have. And that's when it really started. I would say that was 2021.
Okay, yeah. So like kind of when things slowly started to open up after COVID. Okay, I got you. And then in terms of paint, like what type of paint is it? Like acrylic paint, oil paint?
Yeah, acrylic. I don't, yeah. I like to work fast. I like things to dry fast, and oil is the antithesis of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. No, yeah. When I was in college, I had to take painting for like freshman foundation classes, and we worked with oil paint a lot. And yeah, it's a whole definitely a different process than working with acrylic.
And the
And
smell, like the
oh
turpentine,
yeah,
just a
all
lot
you gotta
going
use
on.
like the thing to like kind of make it less dense. Like yeah, that yeah. So yeah, no, actually, you really yeah, it's actually not as accessible because you kind of need good ventilation to.
Yeah, 100%.
Otherwise, you're actually
Same with
gonna
spray paint.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, and also it was cool to kind of hear about your AP art teacher really encouraging you to getting your portfolio up and then also getting to be a part of those awards. Because like even for me, like my graphic design teacher in high school was a big influence on me wanting to pursue it like further in college because she would like let me know about like different sort of things I could submit my work to and things of that nature. So I think it is always cool to so shout out to I have to shout out Miss Taylor like you shouted out Miss Davis. So yeah, it's always cool to remember, the teachers that had that influence on us growing up. But yeah, and then moving forward into like actually organizing the solo exhibition, which I guess was about a month ago now. Like, how long ago did you start kind of planning having the exhibition? Like, when did you first think like I actually want to like I'm gonna make this happen?
It started as a New Year's resolution.
Yeah. Okay.
Started with being like, how can I push myself this year? I have these paintings that I love dearly, that I live with, and I see them all the time. This is
Yeah, we
one.
see the one in the back.
And it's funny because like in my bedroom, I have like this makeshift
Arts.
studio.
Yeah, you got the studio set up.
Yeah, with the tarp and the canvases. So I had that going on, and I had this network from college, from people that I had met at work, and just in New York through balls or whatever. I was like, how can I merge the two? Um, what does that look like? How much does that cost? How do I curate it? How do I tell a story that's worth telling? And people will want to come to support, like getting people all in one room to support art. That's kind of a rare thing if you're not, if that's the only thing going. So that started in January. I would say I got the gallery and got all that settled in February, late February. And then March was just crafting all of this stuff as far as like what I'm going to be saying, what pieces are going to be shown, getting pieces from different storage units, seeing how I'm going to display them, what's the layout. So I would say it started in January and really finished up probably like a week before the show,
Yeah,
if that.
naturally. Yeah, as naturally as it goes. And then in terms of like the venue, like how did you find out what was it called? Like the calendar or what was it?
Yeah, Calendar Gallery.
Yeah, how did you end up finding that? Because it's a really like nice location too with like the see-through glass and everything. Like how did you end up finding that spot?
So I went the non-traditional route. I think a lot of other emerging artists can also go this route. I went to Gigster. So
Gigster,
you
okay.
can rent spaces. In New York, I'm not sure if they have it in other cities, but they allow you to rent these spaces and you pay for allotment of time. And I
Mm.
just coordinated with Marina, who is the gallery owner, found her profile on Gigster, contacted her directly and was like, hey, I'm looking to put on an art exhibition, a solo show. I have the pieces, I have the people. What would it cost me? What are the details, et cetera, et cetera. And once I got in contact with her, it was a pretty easy conversation, pretty straightforward. We were able to find a price, able to find a time and a date that worked. And basically, she handed me the keys and I was able to do my things. It's untraditional in the way that I feel like a lot of people wait on galleries to pick them.
Yeah, no,
And
but you're like, I'm gonna go out of my yeah, I'm gonna go make it happen instead of yeah.
yeah, which is cool, which is cool. Scary, but cool.
No, definitely. Because honestly, even after going, I was like, I think I gotta try and do some maybe later this summer. So now that I'm
You
putting it out there,
should,
I
bro.
think I might have to. I might really have to do it. Yeah. And then, was there sort of anything that I guess, surprised you in the whole process, like of having like the 2 days that the exhibition was open, like in the planning? Like, was there anything that kind of like you're like, oh wow, I didn't kind of think that's how it would go, or like in a good way or a bad way?
Yeah, I would say the first surprise was getting the pieces on the wall.
Yeah,
I was naive. I was like, oh, I get some nails. I go to Home Depot. I'll get them hung up. Problem is, some of my pieces are wood,
Mhm.
plywood.
Yeah,
So you can't just drill them into the wall because the studs are every so often in the wall. And if you don't have a stud, it can rip the wall out. So doing
yeah,
that, luckily, I had the help of Constance, which is the gallery curator, and she was there and she does this like this is her job. So without
right.
her, I don't that would have been they would have just been on the floor, leaning up against the
Yeah,
wall. That was the first surprise, and we got it done. It was all good. But I was like, okay, like multiple trips to Home Depot, multiple trips to hardware stores, Amazon orders, all of that. Secondly, when it was up, the the reception from people that weren't my friends, I thought obviously I love my friends dearly, and I was like, I can get my friends to come
yeah,
and support me, and I think they'll be receptive to my story and the art. But it was the strangers that really made it hit home, especially considering like some of them just walked by and just saw it visually,
yeah,
and it sparked this curiosity, and then they would read the catalog and be like, wow, like I really appreciate this. I really resonate with it in the way that is familiar and something that kind of rings true in their heart. So that was cool. That was probably the biggest surprise and probably the biggest, like the best feeling that I got from the show.
No, yeah. I mean, as I was like doing photo and video, I was definitely seeing like people that seemed like they just like were outside and they're like, oh, I see this like piece. Let me go check it out. And they were curious. And then they were probably coming up talking to you, asking you about the work. And there was a couple people that were like, oh, yeah, where's like the artist? I was like, oh, yeah, there's him over there in the white shirt. You can go talk to him. So yeah, that was definitely, it was cool to just, I mean, I think New York is also like one of those cities, obviously, that I feel like really the arts are definitely celebrated here, I think. And so it's cool to see people, even that, that were outside of your community and network, come to, appreciate the work that you displayed. And so now I kind of want to talk about, I don't know if we'll talk about all the pieces, but we'll definitely like touch on a few of them. The first one I wanted to talk about was the free will piece. I think that seemed to be a fan favorite. Obviously, this, all the work was great, but I feel like a lot of people seem to gravitate towards that one.
Yeah, free will, man. I was living, so I was living in New York 2 summers ago, summer of 2024. I was sleeping on a friend's couch. I was looking for jobs and I was enrolled in a school called the University West of England in Bristol, England. So I went out there. I was playing American football, believe it or
Oh, you were
not,
playing football in England?
in England. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I played in 3 games. It's funny. I had the shortest career ever. I played in 3 games, all playoff games. We won a championship. The collective score across all 3 games was like 154-0.
What? Who are y'all playing? What?
Other schools in the
Dang,
UK,
140
it's a
is
school called the
crazy.
BUCS League, and it's like schools like Loughborough, it's schools like Durham.
I don't know. Do you know Marcus Lippman?
Yeah, he out there.
Yeah,
So
because he's
I
out.
actually
Yeah,
talked to
yeah,
him. We used to hoop together last summer, and he was thinking about it, and he was like, "Yo, like, tell me how your experience was." And I honestly point everybody out there just because it was an incredible experience
yeah,
from traveling to all the people that you meet to being in university in Europe. Like it was just like a different experience, but you're
yeah,
still under the institution of school. So you don't really have the pressure of being an adult. You can kind of just like find your way, explore, let your curiosity take you where you want to go. So 100% recommend it. But I was out there, bro, and I came here for the summer because I knew this artist. She's a sculptor named Lydia Noble. She had this studio in Chinatown. She needed a glass studio, somewhere where she can work with glass, and she needed something different. So she was like, "Hey, I'll sublet you my studio for the summer. You can come, pay whatever." And I was like, "Oh, cool, no problem," because I'm not even paying the rent because I'm sleeping with my Boy Scout. So was doing that probably halfway through the summer. I was like, "Man, I need a job." Like, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Especially
man,
in New York. Yeah,
like ball. ball's ending, that shot clock is kind of winding down. I'm realizing that I need to do something. I want to do something. I have all this curiosity. My friends are in finance. It makes sense for me to go to finance. That's like the thing to do.
Yeah.
So I started recruiting. So I'm in the studio. I'm like locking myself in the studio. I would probably get there noon, probably would leave. I'm in and out, but probably would leave around like 1, 2 a.m. And I'll go eat, I'll come back. But I'm like, just like working, working, working. It really just it told me what I was feeling. I think I don't really assign meaning to my pieces until after I'm done with them.
Hmm.
So I kind of just work in color and work in figures. And I knew I wanted a figure in the middle of the piece. I knew I wanted orange because orange is my favorite color. And it just shaped up, man. And it shaped up into these three heads. I have ball that's ending. I have art that's like the focal point that's grounding me to something that I can't really explain. And then I got like this career, this finance, this, pursuit that I'm trying to capture. And it was just like each way, I don't know where to go. I don't know. I can't see. So I'm walking by faith, not by sight. And I'm
Yeah.
only being able to be perceived, but I can't really see what's ahead of me. So I exist and this identity exists in all these different worlds and it means something to other people. Yeah, I can't really see for myself what I am. So I'm
Mm.
trying to make meaning of it, but we don't exist in a vacuum. So I have meaning to all these different people and they all mean different things. They're all different me's, but it's still me. But I have to somehow form a singular, cohesive me to move forward. And that's kind of where I was at and the inflection point that the painting really holds.
It's very well said. To be able to like, I guess, visualize that the way that you did, it's very cool. The next piece I wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on was let me make sure I get the name right. Oh yeah, the crabs in a barrel. You could walk us through that one.
Yeah, that one is not as, it's not as well as like a thought out story. That more so is just kind of whatever is in me at the time. When was that, man? It was November of 2025. So this last November,
Okay.
Saturday morning, want to paint, don't know where to paint. Know I have the paint in my apartment, but I'm like, like how can I make this work without getting paint everywhere? Because I am an incredibly messy painter. I get paint. It's paint all on my clothes. It's probably paint on me right now. Um, and my girlfriend was here and she was like, no, we can just set it up. It'll be cool. I had the Arsenal game on. I don't know if you're a footy
Arsenal. I
fan.
know they just won. Who did they beat the other day? I see now everybody's story. I'm like, where's all these Arsenal fans coming from?
Yeah, Champions League, they beat, golly, they played somebody, but they're in the
Yeah.
finals of the Champions League.
Okay.
I'm not an
Yeah.
Arsenal fan. I'm a Crystal Palace fan, so I don't even care what they got going on. But I, yeah, we just started painting, man. Like we literally was like, okay, well, this is the colors that we have. Went to Michael's, got 2 canvases. Let's do it. Probably from 9 to 12, I just did whatever my brain told me, and it shaped up to what it was. Like I had a color scheme in mind. I had an idea of crabs in a barrel because my dad had called me a week before and was talking about something. He was like, yeah, crabs in a barrel. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Crabs in a barrel. Because we always will have that, at home just because in Birmingham, that is kind of the atmosphere and the ecosystem of you doing something? Oh, you that? Oh, okay. Okay. And it's kind of like, you know, picking fun at somebody that want to do well for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting dynamic because it never comes from the top. My coach in high school used to always say, hey, it never comes from the top, it always comes from the bottom. And it's an interesting thing. So had that idea in mind and it shaped up to what it was. And that was that. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, cool. And the cool thing about it is I had no idea that there were going to be faces in the piece. And some people didn't see the faces, but for me, I can't unsee it. There are two distinct faces in the middle of the piece, which I adore now. But when I created it, I was like, I had no idea. And then it kind of told me as I kept looking in with it, as I lived with it, whatever. So that was cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think I saw the faces initially. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to look at it right now to,
So you see the black in the middle?
Yeah.
So you see the green are like the mouths, and then if you see the blue right above, they're like teardrops. And then like the black, so there's like the black on the bottom, that's like the bottom of the face.
No, I'm starting to piece it together now that you said it. I'm like, okay, I can see that's kind of can be like the mouth shape and then eyes. But honestly, like for this, I'm always like admire this type of work as someone that like really mainly just makes work from references, or it's like the work that I make is very calculated. It's like I kind of predetermine what I want to make. So like to be able to make something that still has structure and yet like your approach is so loose, I guess initially, and you're just kind of letting it flow, I think is something that I just honestly I find very cool and admire because I feel like I've never really made like I guess like more abstract work like this, and I think it's something I definitely do want to like experiment with and just see where my brain goes, just like laying down color and seeing just like how my body responds to my mind or which one kind of goes first. But like for you, is there like a certain thing that you do to I guess like enter a flow state? Like do you like to listen to music or do you just like are you like silence? Like what's kind of your vibe with that?
Definitely not silence. I'm a big music person. What I listen to is super dependent on my mood, what time of day it is, what day it is, what season it is. So
Yeah.
I tend to go more upbeat. Um,
Hmm.
I've done Kodak, old Kodak. I've done Kendrick. Listen to Kendrick nonstop. I listen to a lot of Wiz Khalifa, so we might throw on some Wiz, and then if I'm feeling like old school, then I'll throw on like some Marvin Gaye,
Yeah, some
some
more smooth.
Luther,
Yeah.
some smooth. If I'm painting for a longer time, but you know, interesting enough, I was experimenting with classical music when I was living in BC, and I was designing like these huge pieces, like pieces that I would be painting for hours at a time. I started listening to classical music and just the rhythmic noises. So I don't know if you know, but Steve Reich or Philip Glass, they make this music and it's literally just like, and then they might throw in like a flute, it might throw in like a trumpet, but it's literally just like
The
a
same like
repetition.
constant beat. Yeah.
And I felt myself get into an unexplainable like flow state to where I always paint with the rhythm. I tend to like whatever, like I'm feeling like it's kind of like a rhythmic experience, like I'm bouncing,
Yeah.
whatever. But when I was listening to that, I could literally feel myself painting to the beats, and that was a cool experience. And I hope to get back to that.
Yeah, I'm just thinking now, like it might be cool to do like a sort of like series where it's like you play different music and then see what like comes out of it, and then you like display those pieces next to each other just to see like what are the differences, and then you don't even let the audience know like which type of music you're listening to, but then let them see if they can like kind of piece something together. I feel like that'd be a pretty cool, definitely would be a cool
Yeah,
experiment to
we
try
might
out.
have to cut that out. That might be used,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah, keep that on, yeah, that part out, yeah. No, yeah, but no, that would be very cool. Yeah, and then speaking of like the larger kind of pieces you worked on, the praise prayer. I mean, what is even like what's like the approach? Do you ever like sketch it out or no, you just kind of like go just see the canvas and like, all right, go at it?
The best way I could describe it is fun.
Yeah. Just
It
have
is
fun.
it's childlike. It is intuitive in ways, a little unforgiving, but in a way that is a fun challenge. Especially filling up so much of a space. It's like this constant puzzle of color placement, of composition, of figuring out where you want something in relation to other things, because I can have something in my brain and I put it down and I'm like, ah, damn, that's smaller than what I wanted it, or it's bigger than what I wanted it. And working with figures, I remember when I was young, I used to always make the head way too big. And my teacher would be
Yeah.
like, Alex, like there's no room for the body. Like, and it's fun now because I don't have that person or that teacher telling me, hey, that's wrong. You kind of just do it and you make sense of it. And I think I think art, it truly tells you. I think there is no wrong answer. It's all subjective. And as long as it's genuine and as long as it's something that you're putting yourself into and it's a genuine experience and it's authentic to yourself and whatever you have going at that time, it'll tell you. It'll tell you what it means and it'll be right.
No, that's true. I think. That's one thing that can be sort of, I guess, a negative of being like doing art within an institution is when like a teacher or professor says like, "Oh no, this is wrong." Like when you're doing something, obviously, like if you're trying to do, if a specific project is asking you to like make sure everything's proportionally, then maybe this like in that context, I guess can also matter. But in general, yeah, like there really are no rules to art and creativity.
That's a good point, 100%.
And then the the next sort of set of pieces I want to talk about was I mean, I guess they weren't really a triptych, but like the way that they were lined up next to each other, the Almost There Again, Where I Learned to Watch, and Where the Grass is Greener, like it definitely felt like they were related to each other. And then even reading the descriptions, I mean, it, to me at least, my interpretation was like it was more like those pieces seem to be inspired definitely from like your sort of life story, different parts of your life, like from, I guess, either from being on the football field, or I think the track one was about your sister. So I guess, yeah, if you could kind of talk about what kind of inspired those set of paintings.
Yeah, Where the Grass is Greener, the football one, the one I made at BC while I was estranged from the football team. Weirdly enough, I was living in the grad house with my other graduate teammates. Yeah, I wasn't going to practice when they were. I wasn't showing up on Saturday when they were. I was in the portal, but still very much so involved as a student and just as a human and a friend and a person on campus. So it was an interesting dynamic because I still had all these great relationships with the guys and they understood my situation. And yet I was just in the crib doing class, painting. I had this studio that I set up in the garage. So this garage, imagine a locker room in a
Mm,
garage with bags and bags of old clothes, of hell, whatever you can think of, like a storage
yeah,
room slash locker room slash garage, all purpose. And in this, they had some like leftover plywood. And I talked to the director of player personnel, like the guy who's over like graduate house or whatever for the team. And I was like, what are y'all doing with this plywood? Like, is this gonna be used? And he was like, nah, it's not, nah. So, okay, well, that's my next canvas. I just started going. And I knew I wanted to do green. I knew I wanted to have some type of grass, but I had no idea that I wanted it to be football even. Like I really didn't. I kind of just was like, you know what? I know that I want this color, and I usually work in colors, and I'm like, I'm gonna just figure it out from there. And I would
mm,
walk to class, and I would have to walk across the field every day I went to class. And I was like looking one day, and I was looking closely. I was noticing, not just looking. I was looking down. And I was like, man, like this is beautiful turf. I took a picture of just this section of the field, a small section. I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do, and it materialized from there. And I think the texture is cool. The way that the piece shines in different light, I think is cool.
yeah,
And that was kind of the basis of that one. The other
yeah. You go ahead.
two, um, I made over winter break, and I was home for 3, 4 days. And it wasn't even winter break. I just took days off work to go home for Christmas. So
Yeah,
guess you call it a winter break. But was in my parents' garage, which is also multi-purpose, my art studio as well. Love garages. There's a theme there. And I knew I wanted something like Grass is Greener. I knew I wanted to carry on this theme. And I knew that I had this goalpost in my mind because I was watching the game, saw it, took a mental image, was like, yeah, I want to do that. But for the other piece, where I learned to watch, I didn't know. And I wanted to make something that I resonated with, one, but also was external to me. Thinking about sport, I think we all have so much relationship to sport. Either you're a fan, because fanship is important and it's huge, but also if you're a player. And I think everybody plays something at once in their life, either it's organized or not. It's a recreational thing, it's an organizational thing, it's an institutional thing. So I think it's a part of the human experience. And I wanted to capture that from the lenses of somebody else that I knew and I knew deeply. And for me, that was my sister. And she had such an interesting relationship with track. One, because she didn't start off good and she had literally everything that she got, she had to work for, but also because she always had an inclination for running, but not in a way that was like track, if that makes sense. I remember as a kid, and this is kind of going on a tangent, but I just, as a kid, like she used to like jog places or like always be like running somewhere.
On the
And it's
move.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, and I guess it was just foreshadowing.
Mm,
But it's cool to see her relationship with it and for her to work so hard. And for me to see that as a big brother, being on the flip side of it, she used to always go to my games, go to my practices, but then seeing the work that she had to put in was super cool. So that inspired that piece. And then the other goalpost is exactly what the piece says, almost there again. I mean, the shifting goalposts, they never leave a mark. You always trying to chase it. You can never quite grasp it. And that's just a reflection of the society that we live in, whether that's capitalism, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
is what we do. And it's how we rationalize everything that is the way it is. I think if we didn't have it and if we didn't have this idea of success, if you work hard, then we wouldn't rationalize the wage gap and other disparities that are incredibly large. But because we have this perceived meritocratic society where your hard work is directly correlated to your success, people
Mm,
are okay with it and people accept multi-billionaires and people that have trillion-dollar net worths because the theory is, oh, they worked their way to get to that point. So I think it's a reflection of that, and it was in a lenses of sport, which I think is super relatable, and it's a universal language.
definitely. And I think, I mean, one thing about sports, it's always used as a metaphor in like all types of senses. Like even think about like rap songs, like people say like whatever, like Curry, like so I think yeah, I think it's cool to see that through your lens on the canvas. And I remember the track one. It might also be because I have a younger sister. I mean, she didn't do track or anything, but I feel like when I read like your description, it kind of at least like for me, I guess more so how I related to it was like thinking about like the things my sister's interested in and watching her pour herself into that. So I think that was how I sort of translated it for myself. But I think those pieces were very powerful in particular because of like although it was I guess informed by your experiences and things you saw and noticed. Like I think any person that came up and looked at those pieces could there it was it's like kind of I guess pieces that you can not that they're like general, but I guess they given like what you named them and the visual of the piece, it's like you can kind of take your own you can relate it to your own story or even relate it to like I guess a more sort of like general like topic of discussion, which I thought was very cool. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then the I guess the last piece was Adrift, which was like by the entrance of the gallery. So yeah, if you could talk a little bit about that piece.
Yeah. Also created at BC.
Yeah.
Probably my quickest piece. Creation process probably made over a week. And that's like start to signing it. And it was inspired by learning how to swim. One of my foundational memories, I used to travel to Montgomery, where most of my family lives. My core family lives in Birmingham, still does, but uncles, grandparents, cousins, all in Montgomery. And my granddad had a pool, and boy, used to be excited going over there because I never really got to swim in somebody's pool except it was my granddad. So fond memories. And it was cool because it was like me, my dad, and my granddad all in the same pool, all in the same area. And there's not a lot of times in my life where I'll reflect and all three lineages are in the same spot. So I hold that dearly. And there's a picture on my phone of me in like this yellow floaty vest. Like I used to always wear the vest. I wasn't really a fan of the noodles.
Yeah, she like, yeah, you gotta vest me, bro. I'm not trying to.
Yeah, I used to like put me in the vest. I don't want no, no. And there's a picture on my phone. And, it's funny because I had that picture in mind. I wasn't referencing it physically, but I had it in mind as I was painting. And then what came was a quick palette knife, go, go, go. It was set. And I knew when I got done with it, I was like, yeah, it's good. Like it's done. And I think the meaning of it for me now that I've like sat with it and it's been sold and I've lived with it, I've not lived with it. Um, it's an interesting piece because I feel like I named it Adrift because the person in the piece, unidentifiable, anonymous, and they're surrounded by this stuff that they can't control. It's the vibrancy around them. It's the volume of life. Whatever that is, it's around them. And they're in something that they can't really control. And I felt like as a kid in water, especially learning how to swim, you have no idea the power of the water around you, but you also have no control over it. And you inherit it. It's kind of just like, okay, they put you in the water, boom, it is what it is. Obviously, what you do is learned, but it's not something that you intuitively know. So I think in the piece, I wanted to reflect that, and I wanted to reflect that starting point in life where you can inherit a geographical location, you inherit your parents, you inherit a religion, and whatever you are taught to do is how you move from their point on, and you learn how to swim. And in the description of the piece, I say I'm still swimming because I am. And we all are. We're
Yeah.
swimming in this pool of life that we inherit.
Yeah. Okay. No, I definitely like sort of how you frame that. Um, and then I guess actually the last thing we talked about is the piece behind you that you showed earlier. Is that like a self-portrait or is that like yeah, what's going on with that piece?
This was created the night before the show.
Oh, really? Oh, snap.
The night before the show in this apartment, in this bedroom. Painting usually soothes me and it like calms me down. I just wanted to be painting something for the show. I didn't know if I was gonna show it. I didn't know if it was gonna be in the front, but I just knew I wanted to paint something to like commemorate this moment and whatever I was feeling at the time. And I think it's interesting too, because you said self-portrait. I think all of my pieces can be self-portraits.
Mm,
And I want them to be unidentifiable in a way, but slightly unidentifiable, one, and anonymous, but also I want them to have this relatability and people to recognize them. And this one I knew I wanted a figure. I had done this kind of caricature before,
yeah.
and
Like the eyes, I noticed there's like the same look like the same that were on your like poster for the event. So I guess is that kind of like your signature sort of with that look with the eyes?
yeah, I would say so. I
Mm,
would say so. I think it's a lot of my favorite artists have like a signature character that
mm-hmm.
shows up in a lot of their paintings. I think of Hebrew Brantley. I think of Yoshito Monada. I think of Slan. There's so many more. I think of Cause. Like
Yeah.
these things that exist and can be taken outside of a canvas to anything, and they're literally living entities. I think it's cool because no matter if you know who Cause is or not, when you see that sculpture or you see that toy, you know what that is. And that has something attached to your mind, no matter if you know the creator or not. And I would love to create something that has the same ubiquitousness, if that is a word. Um,
I think I've heard that before. Yeah. Ubiquitous. It's like the same.
I would love to have that in my own work.
Okay. Well, I think you're definitely doing it already with the eyes because like I immediately made that connection. I was like, okay, so if I see those type of eyes again, I'm like, oh, is that Ames? Oh yeah, no, very very cool. So I mean, yeah, that's those were like all the pieces, and guess one question I had about just like your process with painting in general is like when do you know that you're done with a piece? Because I mean, with creating in general, it's like you kind of can technically always push things further, but how do you know like okay, this is where I'm gonna leave the piece at?
Such a great question. And I'm sure every artist has a different answer to this question. For me, I work a lot in subtraction. I think a lot of people think about adding stuff, and that's important. But for me, I tend to add, and let my body just go. And at the end of painting for the day, then I'll remove and I take away stuff and I take away layers and I paint over things to try to simplify it. I think as soon as there's a moment for me where I can't take away anything and I can't subtract anything, then I know it's done.
Yeah.
But until that moment comes, then the next day I wake up, I'll let ideas just come because I think a lot of people are sparing with their ideas and being like, oh, if I do this, I'll get attached to it or the painting will take this direction or it'll change it to something I don't want it to be. I just kind of let those things shape out as they may. And then at the end of the day, I want it to be something. I'll take away what I added and then see where that leads me. And then, that's a continuous process until I find
Mhm.
that it's done.
Okay. No, yeah, I think the definitely the point you made about the subtracting, like looking at the end and seeing like, okay, is there anything that if there's nothing that can be removed, then that means that I can probably call this complete. I think I sort of heard the same idea in my design classes where like our professor would say like if you're making a design because you can make things pretty complicated, but like if you're looking at like let's say you're making like a logo and you're looking at it, it's like, well, if I can remove this and the logo is still solid, then that means then there's still probably room to work on it. But if I'm at a stage where I'm like, if I remove like any sort of part of this, it's not going to be complete, then you can probably be like, okay, then I think we've arrived at least something. Or so yeah, okay. I think that's definitely I think a good mindset to have as a artist. Obviously, there's no right or wrong. Like you can be an artist that overloads a canvas and just see what comes out of that. But I think, yeah, being able to be like okay with like knowing when to like having like a system, I guess, for knowing when to stop is good. So you don't end up being like, all right, one of those artists. I guess that just like you just keep on working and then you just never release anything. So
Yeah, be like
like,
Picasso, never finished
yeah.
paintings. I guess he finished a lot of paintings, but he also has a lot unfinished.
Yeah, a lot in the archives. I wanted to ask, out of all the pieces that you made, like which one challenged you the most as an artist?
Definitely the prayer is prayer for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
I Yeah, I fought with that one physically. Uh
So, I mean, unfortunately, on the screen they won't be able to tell like the dimensions. It was pretty like yeah, it was a very large painting.
yeah, and it's heavy. Oh
Oh
my
yeah, that
God.
yeah that as well.
And it's a two-sided piece. I wish I could have shown the other
Oh
side.
really? Oh
Yeah, I wish I could have shown it, man. I think for the next show, I wanted to be hanging from the ceiling. And it was hard enough getting it to be on those little stands. So hanging on the ceiling, I would have needed a true professional.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, man, it's that challenged me the most. The authenticity of the piece was something I had to do. I honestly wasn't going to show it, uh, but the group show that I was a part of, April of 2024, the curator came, did a studio visit, and she was like, "What about this piece?" And I was like, "You don't want to like this is now. You
Yeah.
don't even worry about this." And she was like, "No, no, no. I think it's very powerful, and I think it's you." And I sat with it, and she had to beg me to take it and to show it. And I was like, you know what, fine. And at the show, funny enough, that's what people resonated with the most. So it was just me. It was just emotion. It was just coming up every day and just adding something. And that was that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I think it's interesting though that the piece that seems like obviously a lot of people were drawn to is like one that as an artist yourself you're like, ah, not that one I don't think people might resonate with it. So yeah, I think, one thing that's obviously great about art, like you said, it is subjective. So, I mean, your sort of meaning or purpose behind it, might be different than what the audience will kind of get from it. So I'm glad that, they that they did talk you into displaying it and that we were able to see it at the exhibition and even at that earlier one. And then yeah, I kind of wanted to just talk about like I guess your experience being an athlete and being a creative because I've seen like the perception of like an athlete and doing art can sometimes appear very separate even though I think obviously there's a lot of parallels, but like for you, is there anything that you feel like that translates from being an athlete into being an artist at all, or do you think they're kind of exclusive? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. I think there's definitely commonalities. My mind is going to performance right now. There's a certain commonality of being perceived. And I think as an athlete, obviously you have spectators watching you. And no matter what type of art you do, you will have spectators, whether you can see them or whether you don't. And I feel like nowadays with social media, you don't see your spectators as often. But back in the day, you probably had a crowd of people literally watching you create, um, which is a different experience. But
Yeah.
that is a commonality that I think is cool. And I think it's a way to relate to yourself in in a way that like builds your identity beyond what you can see, especially reflecting on my time as an athlete. It feels so far away from me now, but some
Mhm.
people only know me in that vein
Yeah,
and only know me as a football player, and that is Alex to them. And that is cool. That's great. But then on the flip side of that, as a creative, some people know me only as a painter and only as somebody who makes art, which is also cool. And I think merging the two of those and having that commonality of somebody watching you and somebody building an identity of what you're producing, because sports is a product. Like you go out there, you
yeah,
produce a product. You can win, you can lose, you can have great numbers, you can have bad numbers, but it's a product that people will interpret. And it's the same with art. So I think that's a common point that is cool.
yeah. I'm just trying to imagine. I'm glad people don't be watching me create. I feel like I'd be mad nervous. But yeah, no, that's a very kind of like cool sort of connection to draw. I think another one that I thought of, but I mean it's not really exclusive to art. I mean, obviously it's sports, it translates to so many areas of life, which is why I think a lot of people, you know, if you're not trying to pursue it long term, that's why a lot of people will do it. But even just like patience and discipline, like staying with that, or even just enduring, you know, endurance, like staying with that painting
100%.
as long, like even when it's like challenging, like spending so many hours trying to like figure out what to do next. And obviously on the field, like there's so many moments where you need to like dig deep and stay the course in order to, you know, have that final, hopefully have that final outcome of either you're winning that play or winning the game or whatever. But yeah, I think that's definitely a cool, it's a cool perspective to have you know, as an athlete that is also a creative. Looking like forward, are there any pieces you're currently working on that you'd want to like potentially share, or you, or I don't know if you want to keep it in the tuck?
Um, nothing quite of shared quality yet, but
Hmm.
I'm excited for the summer. I think I'll create a lot of I have time, one,
Yeah.
but two, I think I'll have a lot of inspiration to create. And I think I want to expand on my mediums a little bit and test out some things as far as using texture. So please be tuned to the things that come. I think they'll be exciting.
Okay, for sure. No, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward personally to seeing what you continue to make and create. The last thing I'd say, maybe like what advice would you give specifically to, like, I feel like athletes that might want to tap into their creative side? Because like as we just kind of mentioned, like I feel like there is like the identity. Sometimes you might feel like you have to maintain like some sort of identity, being like, you know, especially like football, it's like kind of associated with, you know, being like tough, like whatever, all that stuff. But like, yeah, what advice would you give to kind of, you know, people that might be feeling that way to like kind of tap into the creative side that they might be kind of pushing down?
My advice, do it.
Just do it. Yeah.
Do it. And don't stop doing it. No matter what you're doing, no matter how little you're doing it, just keep doing it. And I think you will not fail as long as you keep doing it. You'll figure it out. I would say that's number one is if you have a passion for it and it's unexplainable, you don't have to have a rationale, a justification. It don't have to make sense to nobody. But if you had this feeling in you that you want to do something creative, 100% do it because that's the closest thing we'll be to the creator is making something of our own.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, I would say don't be scared to be bad because being bad is part of the process. I think, especially nowadays, we see the end product of so many things
Hmm.
artists, musicians, basketball players, football players. And it's like, man, they're so good. But they don't see the 10,000 hours that came before and all the work, all the sacrifices. So it's not an overnight thing. I think it's easy to get attached to this fool's gold that we see on our phones and that's so easily accessible. That's the end product. But man, don't be scared to be bad because you'll figure it out and you'll get better. And it'll be things that drive you and be people that meet, conversations that you have to make your art better over time. But yeah, in the beginning, it's not gonna look like something that
Yeah.
you seeing on
Yeah. I look back to my earlier works. I'm like, sheesh.
and that's okay because it's
Yeah.
progression and you grow and you learn and you look back and be like, man, I came a long way. So I would say those are the two things I would say to artists, but athlete artists, artists in general, anybody that's looking to create.
Okay, for sure. No, I appreciate that. Definitely some wise words from A Wash there. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I had. Definitely want to thank you again for taking the time to be on here and just kind of share a little bit about your, creative journey and the work that you're making and who you are as an artist. And before we go, do you want to plug your socials? Where can the people find you and your work?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you. I want to appreciate you. I appreciate your craft. Came in, shot the show, great way, captured everything beautifully. So I want to thank you. Thank you for bringing me on. I really appreciate it. And feel free to follow me on socials. Who is Ames, and my personal page is Oh My Wash, two H's. Those are my socials. I post art. I post things. It is what it is. It's me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, for sure. And yeah, with that being said, thank you guys for joining, and we'll catch you on the next one.